less destructive because it takes you out of an environment where you're either out on the yard all day long, being around, the fighting and the chaos and the plotting and the planning and the scheming, and people just getting hurt. It takes you into a different arena to where you can earn some certificates, but what you earning a certificate only means that you went through the.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Exactly. Yes.
You could do 50. You could do 25 or 50 of those, and the board will still deny you when you go up for consideration because you may have one single infraction that they call violence. You had a fight. These are the normal things that men do, fight. But they blow it up like it's violence, and they record it as if these are violent acts that are going on. So men fight all the time, and it's blown up like there's a mass record of violence in prison where the prison officials start hollering.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
We need more staff. We need more money for guns and all that. And it's a farce. It's just pure politics that inmates get caught up in and don't realize how they're benefiting the beneficiaries. So the rehabilitation is another it's like a big money scheme as well, because the prison system is being funded monies for inmates to be a part of, to appear they're being rehabilitated. But I believe it's up to the individual who's had enough.
Yeah.
And second chances are absolutely necessary because a lot of offenders don't come back to prison except for those who haven't done a whole lot of prison time. We're going to have...
Okay, we're going to have to pause for a moment, and we're going to continue this conversation about prison reform, rehabilitation, and from our conversation, we can see that it's up to the individual. And we're going to talk more about that. Be right back.
Okay, we're returning from our slight pause, and I would like to get back to the topic of rehabilitation because I do truly believe that in the hearts of men, you get tired, of doing wrong at some point. You get tired of looking for the easy way to do things. You get tired of sitting here in this prison system, of being creative and not being able to utilize your creativities to benefit from like the rest of the world. I believe that inmates get tired of the consequences from their actions that landed them in prison. And I believe that those rehabilitations are within the hearts of men. I believe that there are a lot of men today ready to be re-entered into society, but the opportunities, they're interfered with based on the way the system is being applied. And it's a sad affair, and I say that way because inmates try very, very hard. They could do 4 or 5 years clean time, and the board could say that's not enough. And this goes back to the way the sentences are being handed down. An inmate who's given life in prison, they have it designed almost to where you have to do 25 years. And there's no proof that 25 years is enough time to make a person stop thinking criminally. That's one of the biggest farces ever, because there's no proof or evidence that this is an effective method, and they use incarceration continuously and repeatedly, more so to keep the inmate prison population populated to where inmate labor is prevalent. And Prince's inmate a dollar. The same dollar, a dollar an hour in prison today is no different than the penny wage of slavery of old.
Right.
Because we're so into technology, modern technology, that everything is so advanced and the prices are so high. Them finally giving an inmate a dollar an hour is still a slap in the face, you know, and it's so disrespectful because the labor that inmates put out makes billions and billions of dollars, and the very labor that inmates put into these industries should be the very things that help an inmate pay his way up out of prison or help an inmate buy a lawyer. But you can't even hardly buy a case of noodles at the end of the month because they done jacked the prices up for a case of noodles to $10.80 for 24 suits in prison. And inmates, you know, inmates' families are the ones who bear the brunt end of this because they're making a living out in society. You have mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and fiancés and wives and girlfriends and a host of relatives who are working and making honest.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Who refuse to turn their backs on their loved ones that's incarcerated. So their money is being taxed, and then when they try to look out for their relatives in prison, that money is being taxed through restitution that's really unlawful because it's not the money that inmates earn wages that should be taxed by the inmates' accomplishments. Where PIA should be giving inmates enough money, you know what I'm saying, to where that money can be taxed as restitution and the victim's restitution can be fulfilled. But it's like double taxing the taxpayers' money by just supporting the inmates' basic human needs. And that's a scam. That's a scam and a travesty within itself because it deters people from trying to support their loved ones in prison. Right. You know, they get tired of funding money that the people are taking away from them. Inmate receives $100 and victim restitution takes 55% of it. They take $55 off 100 and leave you with just $45. You know, and this is money that's already been taxed by California against the parents who's sending this money. You know, so it's a big scheme, you know, to keep people broke, you know, to keep getting rich off the poor. You know, there's a whole lot to it that people just don't acknowledge and see because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses themselves. We're going to have to take a pause because I have to recalibrate my tablet in order to continue speaking before it goes out.
Okay.
So we're going to pause
back
for the moment.
Right.
I'll be right back.
All right, we're back.
All right. Okay, and where I left off is about how family members are being double taxed for the monies that they provide for loved ones in prison, and these I guess brown shirt free persons, people who are contracted with the California Department of Corrections, who are allowed to sell canteen products and items in the store, they've become so greedy. They price gouge us up in here at such an all-time high. It's sickening. You know, we have to buy what they provide. There's no real healthy foods because they got this thing at CDCR where the officers really can't do their jobs and locate wine makers, people who make wine and alcohol. I guess the simple way of dealing with it is to stop letting inmates buy products with sugar. Now, this is one of the biggest scams as well because they have contracted with these quarterly package vendors who provide food and appliances and supplies to us, and they you know, it allows for an inmate to purchase items that the prison itself doesn't provide in the canteen.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so confusing because CDCR gives us fruit every day, bananas and apples and oranges. They provide sugar items, but there's nothing that's going to stop an inmate from making wine unless every single officer in CDCR takes the position to do their job and track down the winemaker. There's no way that you can deter winemaking by depriving an inmate of the products that he can buy from these vendors or the store. We're deprived of healthy food items because CDCR has decided to take these items, restrict these items from male prisoners. Female prisoners are allowed to purchase the items that, I guess, fortify and strengthen the female anatomy. These are sugar products, these same sugar products inmates prefer are items that are edible and taste good, and the prices vary, where if we have to relinquish our sugar, why should the price continue to go up? And we have to settle for sugar-free items, and these sugar-free items are just, not as tasty for our money as it would be for paying for our sugar. And CDCR is such a big contradiction because CDCR provides the very things that wine can be made out of, but they place these restrictions on inmates because inmates are able to spend their money to buy, sugar items. It's almost, like, where is there really a problem? It's only what they create. This is the chaos. They can't explain it, but they enforce it. They can't justify it, but they do, because they call this a justifiable penological golden interest. They say, okay, well, we're not going to sell them sugar so that they can't make wine. That's justifiable. But it does not make any sense, because you have this in place, and you're buying wine every single day. Even with the inmates not having these sugar items, so you still, this inmates getting drunk, this inmates causing problems on the yard, getting drunk. And I'm not saying this for the inmates to be enforced to stop making wine and stuff like that. The inmates are going to try to live like they live in society. A lot of inmates, and this is why it's possible for me to speak so freely and be all over the place, because a cup of wine is something that we're familiar with. A cup of wine can relax the mind and the body. However, if it's abused, a cup of wine can cause inebriation and have a person acting out of control. Now, for prison life, people look for coping mechanisms. That's why drugs are so prevalent in prison, because people are able to hide all their feelings or numb their senses to the things that they're being subjected to in prison, and they become into this robotic state of every day chasing a high in order to numb their feelings, and not care no more, and since the beginning of time, drugs have been in prison, and they blame inmates for drugs coming